looking at this big, huge thing called karma. And it's not a topic everybody wants to necessarily look at very deeply or embrace, but it's one that we need to do that with because we are truth students and we are spiritually evolving and we want to go forward in our spiritual awareness. So when you look at karma, what it is it's the universal teacher of responsibility. That's what karma is. The universal teacher of responsibility. It is indeed the law of cause and effect. And when we look at that, we are inclined to think of it more in terms of what goes around comes around. As you sow, so shall you reap. What you put into the world comes back at you. You know, the measure you give is the measure you get, and so on. Now, we know this, and we say this all the time. Life is like a boomerang when it comes to your thoughts and feelings. They go out and they come back. But I want to know, is this just something we know at a level of cliche? Or can we get a deeper sense and awareness of it now today, so that you and I can create great good karma for ourselves? You see, karma is simply a karmic necessity. And that's the way the soul evolves, through karmic necessity. You know, you do something and you learn from it, simply. And so I know that I want to learn in a gentler way. And I want to create for myself good karma, not the opposite. And the thing about that karmic necessity thing is that it shows up in all expressions of our life, in all of our experience of life since the incipiency of our lives. And this is a kind of a quantum thing to understand, that we live all of our lives simultaneously, and sometimes we have bleed-ins to the experience of a life in the past or an experience of a life to come, because there's no past or future in spirit. And your soul has no past and no future. It's always in the eternal now and the everlasting present. And so if we're mending and fixing anything karmically, we not only fix it for this life, but all life. All the time we've been aware and awake and alive and living, we can fix it. In the olden days, we used to call this, in orthodoxy, you know, the redemptive aspect of grace that would prevent us anymore for karmic debt or the responsibility because of sin. You know, that a grace could wipe that out, could obliterate that. And it's true with karma. As soon as you enter into enlightenment, everything is wiped away. So it's the same thing, but in a new way of looking at it. So we can redeem ourselves from this karmic, not so good experiences that we have built up for ourselves. And why? Well, if you and I stay awake enough and stay present enough and alert enough and mindful enough and make intelligent choices, we can create for ourselves more healthy and wonderful experiences in life and living. On the other hand, if we fall asleep and forget about the fact that what goes around comes around, we can get ourselves into trouble. And we don't want to continue to do that. And because we're purposeful about unfolding spiritually, we want to be mindful of karma and how we create it, so that we can create what is good and only good. Because understand this, if I create a hurtful experience for somebody else, then that's going to be what I'm going to experience too. Because what I project out there comes right back at me in some way, shape, make, or form, sooner or later. So it's an intelligent thing for us to take a look this week at our karmic if you like, model thus far, insofar as we can ascertain that by looking at ourselves and our experiences of what we are creating. You know, it's simple. If I'm going to lie, I will be lied to. If I'm going to cheat, somebody's going to cheat me. If I'm going to steal, somebody's going to steal from me. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about this. It's going to happen. If I want to be rotten in the way I'm going about things, people will be rotten in the way they're going about things regarding me. It's as simple as that. Now, what is it that we don't get about that? And yet we unleash our mouths and say all these things that we have no idea whether or not they're true or not, but because we heard them from so-and-so and so-and-so, and she must know, he's in the inn, we start to believe all these things and then spread the bad news. Guess what? People are doing exactly the same thing about you when you're doing that. When you're having a great good chin wag and gossip, somebody else is sitting around chin wagging and gossiping about you, because that's how karma works, the law of cause and effect. There is an effect to everything I cause and you cause too. Now, it's not comforting for me to sit down and think about karma at all. It kind of disturbs me a lot. Because in ignorance and not being as awake and alert as I feel I am now, I'm sure I put my big feet in it all over the place. So I have to be very, very careful now to make amends. And the amends that I make is an interior amends. So the challenge for you and the challenge for me this week is to look at all of this, the law of cause and effect in your own life. So that at the end of the day you ask yourself, how many times did I fall into envy, into jealousy, into anger, into self-righteousness, into judgment? Because that's not serving me well, or anything or anyone else either. And it's building up a repercussion that I really don't want. I don't want to have to tackle that on top of everything else. And so that's what we're going to be doing this week. We're going to be looking at that. And we have to understand that there's a way of being in the world which is the way of non-judgmental justice. It's a spiritual way of being. Non-judgmental justice. Now, this is not an easy way to live, because we want to cry out for justice. And when we're crying out for justice, we want people to get their just deserts. We want people to get their comeuppance. We want people to be punished. We want people to be made to feel pain and hurt and so on and so forth. You see, that is not non-judgmental justice. When we're in non-judgmental justice, we're coming from a much more integrated sense of life and living, and we know that nothing has control over us, only ourselves, and that life has a perfect way of bringing about an imbalance and taking care of business. Justice is mine, saith the law. So isn't it lovely to think you don't have to concern yourself about making sure that he or she gets her just deserts or comeuppance? You don't, and I don't either, which is a wonderful thing to know. Now, we can only come from this when we're mindful, observing, paying attention, really tuned in, clued in, and understand that all of the communication of the spiritual plane has to do with non-violent communication and has to do with non-judgmental justice. All of us have been prone to violent communication, both on the receiving end and on the giving end. All of us. And it creates for us situations that we don't want to create. Now, as you sow, so shall you reap. I do not want to reap anymore those dread, awful harvests that come from sowing, from negativity, and fear, and anger, and so on. I really don't. I'm endeavoring to watch it in my own life. I slip at times. Of course I do. I'm not enlightened fully yet. I'm not perfect in that way yet. And God knows I know it. But that's what I want. Deep down within me, it's what I want. And so I've set the intention. And intention is everything. I have to really want it, deeply intended. And it's so not easy. I'm challenged every day of my life in this regard, in all kinds of ways. It's so easy to slip into the way I used to think and feel when I was not being mindful, because of the busyness of the embodiment and the rushing and the fussing and all the rest of it, where you hardly have time to think. I used to hear my mom say that. I haven't got time to think, child. Well, you see, we need to have time to think if we're going to sort this one out. So, this coming week, what we're going to do is ask ourselves the questions. Lots of questions. Can you remember a time when something wonderful and something amazing and something delightful happened because of you? You caused something wonderful and delightful to happen in someone else's life, somewhere else. How did you feel? Wasn't that magnificent? You're going to look at that this week, and so am I. I'm also going to look at how in my life, in your life too, did you create something that brought about a surprise, all right, but it was a terrible one, an awful one, a hurtful one. And how did you feel about that? Because we've done that too. Even though it's not intentional, it doesn't matter. Ignorance of the law doesn't count. Karma is karma, and karma necessity will, bite our proverbials sooner or later. There's no doubt about it. We're going to ask ourselves at the end of the day, how often did I forget? Speak mindlessly. Feel from negative emoting. Express myself in negative ways. And see how we're doing with that. We'll also ask ourselves, well, how did I do well today? When did I get it right today? And notice the difference between how you feel about both different responses. We are going to know for ourselves this coming week that we are not going to miss out on an opportunity here to repair and mend and fix past karma. Because we can. Because we can. And we do it by getting it right, by living it right, by coming from that center of compassion, understanding, kindness, and forgiveness that is raging within us, wanting to be expressed. We're going to make up our minds this week that we're going out there into the world as the most friendly, the most warm, the most engaging, the most welcoming person you could find on the planet. We're going to show up as our true selves, our essential selves, our best selves. We're going to put on our best self clothing when we go out there. And when I mean out there, I mean out into your own home to begin with first. When you get up out of the bed. That's what we're going to know. Because that's the way we repair. That's the way we renew. That's the way we lighten up and start creating wonderful, wonderful karma through healthy, intelligent choices that we're going to make. So it's not just okay to get into a fit of anger and act from it anymore for any one of us. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to feel whatever we're feeling. All feelings are neutral until I respond to them in some way that's either going to make them good, bad, or indifferent. It's what I'm going to do with that. And to help us with our non-violent communication with ourselves and others is to first and foremostly observe. Observe. Simply observe. Having observed, get in touch with the feeling that's arising. Get in touch with the feeling that's arising out of your observation. Then get in touch with the need that's arising too. What is the need here? What is the need here because of what I have been observing, what I'm feeling? What is that need? And then respond to the need. From that awareness that this is a karmic necessity that's produced itself in your life for your spiritual growth and development. And don't mess it up. Make the response a conscious, intelligent choice to engage at a level of mending, fixing, balancing, and healing rather than upsetting the whole apple cart. It's not easy. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not afraid of hard. Hard is hard, and I don't sugarcoat things, and say, oh yeah, you can do it, just muster up, pull yourself together, you can do this. You can't do this. I can't do this. Not of myself. I need more than that to be able to take on life's habits and choices that haven't been the best. I need more than myself to do that. My little self. I need to be in touch with my great essential self. The only way I can do that is to extrapolate myself from the exterior world and enter into the interior world, and you'll get tired of me saying this. I get tired of saying it to myself. Oh, here we go again, Moira. You know what to do, Moira. Well, okay, but I'm not in the mood and I don't feel like it. Even I say that sometimes. But mostly I do it anyway. Even if it's just an automatic thing that I go into, because I know that once I make up my mind, I head for that chair. Something happens once I say yes to that. Once I'm heading for that chair, and I have my prayer shawl there, and my this and my that and my other, the paraphernalia there, to help to create that energy that has been built up, I know I'm safe. Once I'm heading in the direction of the chair, and don't avoid it, I'm fine. I get there, and I do. But it's not always let's a hop, skip, and jump to that chair. It's sometimes a crawl, and it's a drag, and it's a bind. I can assure you of that. But nevertheless, once I'm sitting on that chair, I'm good to go. I'm home free. And so I'm recommending that to you. Whatever that chair is for you, find what it is for you. It might be a spot in the garden, I don't know. Whatever that is for you that takes you into that zone, that takes you out of your personality. The whole thing about meditation, the whole thing about the 9 o'clock service is to get you away from your personality. To get me away from my personality, to disorient the personality so that the soul can come through, so that the essential essence of us can be contacted and we can be in touch with that. See, I'm not interested, as Carolyn May said once upon a time, I'm not interested in teaching my personality or teaching your personality too. They're impossible. Can't teach them. Not teachable. It's all about the soul, it's about the soul, it's about the soul. And the personality is what keeps us from it and its various and sundry committees, you see. Oh my goodness, start tuning in and recognizing those committees when they come up. When you hear something that disturbs you or upsets you or you think is true or whatever, just listen in. It's incredible. that kind of energy. That kind of energy, which stops us and blocks us, prevents us from getting to the core of our being, that beautiful compassionate center that's there, that understands, that is wise beyond all imagining, and can cope with anything that crosses its path in a beautiful way. So when somebody confronts you and they're very angry with you, you look at them, you observe, you see what's going on, and you say to them, I observe that you're very angry. I see that you're very, very angry, and you're very angry with me, it seems. And I see that you're feeling that. It's very, very palpable. I can feel the energy. And I see that you have a need within it. There's some need within you now that needs to share this with me. And I'm not quite sure why you're angry with me just now. Perhaps it's something that you heard. Perhaps it's something I said that was told you out of context. Perhaps you were told I said something, or I think something about you, or I feel something about you by another person that has misrepresented me. Perhaps it's just that I'm in presence of you now and I'm the last straw for some reason, and I'm the one that's getting it. I'm not sure, but I would love to know what that is. And I would love to be able to be fully present with you and hear it from you, what it is that you have observed, that you're feeling, what your need is with regard to me. Because I'm only here, not in any way to upset you, but to do what I can to help you when you are upset. See? It's a whole different way of engaging with somebody. And this is not going to happen overnight. This takes practice. You might get to step 1, observation to begin with, and then all hell will let loose. Then you might get to number 2 the next time, and so on. But keep at it, keep endeavoring. Keep endeavoring. And let us this week, oh my goodness, let us be the village for each other this week. Let us gently remind each other when we forget ourselves, when we forget who we are. Let us remind each other. Gently, gently. That's all we need, is a gentle nudge. We don't need a box over the ear, a clatter or a thump. We've had enough of those. And we don't respond well to them anyway. We just want to thump back. And so let us be there for each other this coming week as we move ahead, endeavoring to be all that we can be in this world, so that not only can I heal or you heal, but the whole world can heal. Because every time you heal something, the whole world heals. Every time you break something, the whole world breaks. Every time you soothe, the whole world is soothed. Every time you hurt, the whole world is hurting as a result of that. That's what the law of karma is. As I give, so I get. It's true. What goes around does come around and lands right back at our own feet. It's not where we want to be. It's not who we are. It's not what we want to be. I know that. That's why we're all here. That's why we're all here. So we can do this week. We can this week embrace that wonderful law of responsibility, the law of consequences, the law of cause and effect, and use it as a friend, not as a foe, but a friend. It's there to serve us and to meet our needs. So as I say, as we go forward this week, let us put the verb under the noun. Let us be active in our resolve to show up as we are called to show up as the glory of God fully alive. That's your calling, that's my calling, and so it is.